is that something when you guys started where you were like, kind of like what we were talking about, where like the internet is almost you kind of crisscross with reality? Like when you started, were you like in a perfect world? I'd be a comedian, or I'd be a DJ, but we'll do this now, or is like we want to do this, and then kind of life just took you that way?
Yeah, no, well, I can't speak on if Cody always wanted to be a DJ. I know it's something he always dabbled in, but I can say for me, I did definitely want to get back to stand-up at some point. So I definitely had that goal in mind.
Why'd you stop though? Was just
so
money and success was like, I can't leave this. It's too good right now.
Yeah, no, it was just kind of a thing where when I started doing stand up, I did stand up all the way up until Cody and I started working together, and I was still doing it. And I actually brought Cody into it. Like I would kind of take him to mics, and he would do a few shows. Then we actually used to do shows together. There was like a monthly show at the Improv that we would do, and then
you went on the road doing like the live podcast. No,
and then we went.
I feel like I saw crowds that were like rocking for you.
Yeah. So then we did a year and a quarter where we were touring very actively, and so it kind of started as a live podcast, and then it turned into like a variety show. But then my pocket of the show was, we basically did sets.
Was that Tiny Meat Gang? Was the original? It was the show, and then it became.
No. So actually, we worked together as software engineers, or like writing code. And then Cody was, we were both making Vines, but then Vine was crashing. And Cody knew of me through Vine, and I knew of him through Vine. And it was like kind of a funny thing because, so I was like relatively late to Vine. I think I only peaked at like 100,000 followers. And I remember one day a person messaged me and they go, "Dude, Cody Co follows you." I'm like, "Who's Cody Co?" And I'm like, "Oh, this dude's got like 6 million followers. This is crazy." And then a month later, I'm sitting at my job, and in walks Cody, and he sits on the other side of me. And we had like DM'd briefly before that.
And so you guys were both you had a day job.
Yeah, we both had day jobs.
And fuck around on Vine and shit for fun. So
then when Vine started, like everyone knew it was going away, everyone was starting to pivot to YouTube. So I started filming sketch, and so the sketch was like me, Cody, and a buddy of ours named Gian. And then Cody would fuck around with vlogs, and I'd help him make those. And then I kind of showed him the reaction format, and then we came across this video of like, the blowjob robot, and he's like, "Oh, let's give this, like, why don't we react to this?" So then that kind of started the whole like That's Cringe series, and then I got laid off from the engineering job.
The best.
And then Cody goes, "Well," he was like, "Why don't we just try to figure out how to make content work?" And at that time, we were flirting with the idea of doing the TMG podcast. But we didn't really have a name for it. And what's funny is the first time Tiny Meat Gang's mentioned is I make a joke about like a baby in a sonogram. And I was like, yeah, Megan, you love this one. She hates when I bring this up, but I was joking about a baby holding its meat, and then they like swipe the sonogram over, and then I just say Tiny Meat Gang. And so then Cody makes a video like, digging on Jake Paul, and then he's like, "Oh, let's make a song," and I help him make the song, and then we need a name for the artist. I go, "Oh, why don't we just go with Tiny Meat Gang?" So then I get laid off, and then Cody says, "Why don't we just try to figure out how to make content work?" And then I say, "Oh, maybe we start a podcast." And at that time, he was just doing Insanely Chill, and then we figure out how to do this podcast. He's like, "What do we call a podcast?" I'm like, "Tiny Meat Gang podcast." So then that's how the kind of the snowball just like went. And so in that time, I think I didn't feel like I could focus on stand-up because I was just too focused on how do I replace my income.
Sure.
Because
that's first and foremost.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I had lost.
So were you doing spots and shit while were you doing like software coding, content, and comedy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, and I didn't go to school for writing code. So I was like self-taught, and I just kind of crawled my way up in that world. And
that's why you got laid off, bro.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they ended up laying off everybody, and they sold the company. So shout out Fullscreen.
Were you? I do think sometimes those like if that didn't happen, I think that's the best thing that can happen. Like if it didn't happen, would you have just kept the course? Or you would have like eventually quit and broken out?
I don't think I would have kept the course, because what Cody and I were doing was just it was
working.
Yeah, it was working. So I think inevitably we would have landed on where we landed. To be honest, I was like kind of thankful in a way, because I kind of felt like it was something that gave me the push to just go after
there's no safety net now. It's like no excuses, no fallback.
But I couldn't feel like I could focus on stand-up, because I was kind of in a similar position. Because when I had started writing code, it was like a similar thing. I was like living in a small apartment with my dad. I mean, he like lived in the living room, and it was like a kind of a dire situation. And so I like taught myself to write code to like get out of that.
Sure.
And so by like coming on the end of that and then having this kind of opportunity come up, my mind was kind of in that mode where I go, okay, fuck, like I got to do it again. And so
I mean, dick jokes is a lot easier than code.
Yeah. To be honest, I miss code sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
I started as an accountant, and I hate the accounting, but I do miss the like normalcy of a regular job.
Oh sure, yeah.
Like,
I don't miss
when
that.
Shit gets crazy, when shit gets crazy here, I always think like I could just be in front of a computer pretending to work, not really working.
I'm a pretty restless person, but I
You like the crazy, you need that life.
But writing code's creative. It's fun. But yeah. So then fast forward, the TMG stuff, it just took off. So then we had that whole year where we toured, and that kind of like put this battery in my back to go back to stand up. So I actually started doing stand up right before COVID happened again, and then it happened. So
that sucks.
That's what led me to Twitch. And so I think everything has just been, to answer your question, I think it's always been on my mind to get it back.
All right, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Click that button.
Or I'll cut off my finger.